A smile doesn't have to be perfect. It means that if you like it and you own it and you smile like crazy and you're not embarrassed, that's beauty. The beauty isn't in the perfectness is not a word, but in the perfect part of the smile. I compliment people all the time on beautiful smiles that are real teeth.
Welcome to the Beauty Talk podcast, where we feature how the best medical practitioners help their patients to look better, younger, and healthier. Now, enjoy the show, and here's your host.
Okay.
Daniel Gao here. I'm the host of Beauty Talk. We feature the top medical practitioners in health and beauty, both inside and out. I have Dr. Paula Gould, a cosmetic dentist in New Jersey who's been practicing for 44 years. After a few larger practices, she now has a small boutique practice dedicated entirely to cosmetic dentistry. She was voted one of the best cosmetic dentists in Bergen County based on the Google reviews from her patients. So Dr. Gould, welcome and glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me. This is great.
Yes, let's start from the very beginning, Dr. Gould. What first got you interested in the medical field?
I have to tell you, when I was in high school, took a science class that was advanced biology and it was biochemistry, everything. And I said, oh my God, I love science. It's always a good student, but science was like, okay, this is great. I think I want to go to med school or dental school. I wasn't even thinking which one. Just had to be pre-med, and that's how it worked. Did both.
Okay. So then what led you to decide to go down the path of dentistry?
This is a good story that I do tell my patients. I was always a fashionista, always liked fashion, always liked art, and I was an artist. And I got Glamour magazine, and there was an article in there by a cosmetic dentist named Jeff Golub Evans from New York City, and he showed bonding, cosmetic bonding, which was in different styles, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. He had a model, and he just changed the sculpting on each one to make the smile look different. And he wanted one to be more like a very demure kind of dainty girl. And he did one that was more like a boss kind of strong kind of look, and one with the teeth a little more square. And it completely changed her look. And he was doing it by sculpting. We didn't have veneers then. And I said, this is the greatest thing. This is like art. It's in a magazine. And I have to meet this guy. And I think I'm not going to go to medical school. I'm going to go to dental school. And that was the beginning of my love for cosmetics and what was just becoming, it was really in the forefront of cosmetics. They were not talked about very little. We didn't have the same materials that we have now. And I was hooked. I had to meet him. I worked in his office. I met him, and he was a sculptor as well. So this was like a very interesting time for dentistry. And I was so glad to be a part of it.
Okay. So you were working in his office, and then in introduction, you mentioned that you've had several practices, but now you have a more boutique practice. What was your journey of having these other practices and now having the more boutique practice? What was that journey like?
I always had the traditional dental practice, and I did all of the different procedures. I always liked that, but always had this love of cosmetics. And people would come to me particularly for cosmetic problems. And when veneers were invented, I was all in. I was one of the first people to do veneers. I used to do them in all porcelain. It was a little different procedure than the way we do them now. And my office became known as somewhere to go, referred by other people. We didn't even have Instagram then, nothing. And other people referred other people that saw their smile and loved it. So I've always been interested in cosmetics. I did everything. And being a cosmetic dentist, as I call it, you really have to like people. So that was part of it, is that it's a very personal thing. So I've had these larger practices, and after about 5 years ago, I decided I want to do just my own small boutique practice, one person at a time. No one's waiting in the waiting room, no rushing around, and concentrate on cosmetics, because I've done them for so many years. People know me in Bergen County, and give everybody their undivided attention. So that's how the boutique practice came into being.
Got it. Now, I want to talk about what you actually do for your patients. And a big part of what you do is designing new smiles. Could you explain what that means, designing new smiles?
Yes, that's more what a cosmetic dentist does, is we don't just ask the lab to do anything. We look at somebody's face. We look at, they have a long face, do they have a wider face? What do their teeth look like now? What things are they missing in their smile to make it attractive? And they tell me why they're there. They know immediately something that's bothering them. And when we talk about designing, we talk about changing the shapes of the teeth to complement their features. So designing something is whether I want the teeth a little longer because we don't see a lot of teeth, whether I want them a little wider in the sides of the teeth where they smile and you see a dark shadow over there and it doesn't look good in pictures. So we design it so it's slightly wider, which is something that cosmetic dentists always do to make a woman or a man that doesn't have that width look a little wider. We complement their lips. We complement their hair color. So it's designing and asking for what I want.
Okay, and as part of that designing, I believe you use veneers, use crowns, you use implants. Is there anything else that you use when you're designing that new smile?
Well, what's used is what the patient needs. So if there's an implant involved in a front tooth, we want everything around it to flow and look like it's real. So when implants are part of it because they are something that has to be included in the smile design. So there could be many different things that are involved in the smile design. Could be if a tooth has a crown on it before, we still have to make it a crown. If we're doing veneers, we could mix it with one tooth with a crown, another one depending upon how much tooth structure there is, what I prescribe for that tooth. So it could be a mix of things, but they all look like they flow together. So you can't tell the difference between a veneer, a crown, or an implant. And that's the way it should be, that there's it flows in a uniform, nice way in the smile. So there should be no difference because we're using similar materials with everything. The shapes will flow and no one knows what's a veneer, what's a crown, where an implant is. You should not see that.
Okay. And when it comes to the veneers, I know there's different types of veneers. There's the porcelain veneers and then there's the bonded veneers. What are the difference between these two types of veneers?
Let me clarify the way you said it, because you're a layperson when you're asking these questions, and we have to clarify what's very confusing for people, what a bonded veneer is. Bonding is the practice of making something stick and adhere to the tooth structure. So veneers are actually bonded. Cosmetic bonding, when people call it, was really composite bonding, where we're using a flexible kind of material that we can sculpt into a shape. And we do that chair side, and people confuse, they call it bonding. So we would call that composite bonding, and that would be made of a different material than a veneer. Veneers are made from a dental lab that are, they're very highly trained cosmetic lab people that make teeth look real. So it's an artistry involved in the lab. Cosmetic bonding, or composite bonding is what we're going to call it, is made by me. And sometimes in certain situations, that's all that's needed. I can do it chair side. I can add to the side of a tooth. I can make something look a little wider, but we don't need a whole veneer. And a lot of times what that works for is I do that a lot of times in younger patients. They finish with their braces. Perfect example of someone. She's finished with her braces, but her teeth don't look great because her two side teeth are a little smaller than the rest. She's a beautiful girl, nice lips, everything. And just incidentally, her teeth were smaller with some spaces on either side. So what I did is I used my composite bonding and added to the sides of those teeth to make them look wider, but didn't need an entire veneer because we could match the color. We're keeping the same color, and I sculpted it to flow on top of that tooth that it matched with the other teeth, and now she has the two wider teeth that really made her smile complete.
Wow.
That's one way to do it. Younger patients, you can do bonding a lot. Say there's a big space in the middle. We can close that with composite bonding if the person likes their color. So we don't have to do a complete veneer. So we have all kinds of methods and ways to do things to change the appearance that a patient is unhappy with or has something they see in pictures that they really don't like. And I will prescribe what's needed and what I think for each case a little differently.
Okay. Now, when it comes to the layperson as well, like, what are the differences as far as when should you use a veneer, when should you use a crown, when you should use an implant? Like for the average person, how can they understand like what is going to be best in a certain situation?
Right. That's the perfect question to ask. An implant is when you have a tooth that's no longer viable because there's not enough tooth structure left there. Perhaps it cracked, perhaps there was an accident, perhaps it was decay, something. There's no longer anything that we can do with that tooth. So the tooth is removed. We place bone fill in there to make it a nice strong space in that. And then an implant is placed in that position and a crown is placed over that. So the implant is the part that's underneath the bone. Then there's a piece that comes out that looks like a regular, looks like something that we can put a crown over. So the implant stays underneath, we don't see it. And then the piece that comes out is something that we place a crown on. So it looks like the implant takes the place of a root. So that would be an implant. A crown is something where we have enough tooth structure left, but it's a weakened tooth. So the back side of it or the sides of it or something is weakened, and we want to create something that is stronger for that tooth, and it's necessary. The crown, same word, comes from a cap, which is like a hat that goes on. A crown is the same thing as like a hat, but it covers completely 360 degrees over that tooth. It covers the back and the front. A veneer is only covering the front part of the tooth and kind of rolls around underneath just a little bit. The back of the tooth is your own. It feels like your own. It feels like your natural teeth, but that's used when we want to change a number of things. When we want to change color, that's the perfect thing. It strengthens the front of the tooth, and we're able to change the color of the front of the tooth, and it looks just like a natural tooth. So we can use that. In addition to that, what's so great about veneers is that they can also change shape. So if a tooth is too small, we can put a veneer on top of it and make it a little wider. If someone has very wide spaces between, we could do a number of veneers and create a smile that didn't have spaces. Sometimes after Invisalign, people have some spaces that they don't like. The teeth are in a great position, but they have some spacing they don't like. So then we can do some veneers on top or even cosmetic composite bonding in between to close some of those spaces. Because after Invisalign, teeth don't always look perfect. That's a misnomer that people think that, and you can jump in anytime that you like, that after you have Invisalign or you have full braces or whatever, when you take the teeth off, you're going to have this perfect smile. Doesn't always happen. There might be one tooth that's discolored. There might be some extra spacing somewhere that the orthodontist couldn't close everything. So not everyone has this perfect smile when they're done. So that's when the cosmetic dentist comes in, that the teeth are in great position, but one tooth is a little smaller. Just anatomically, it was too small. So we're able to treat just one tooth if we like the color. Color is a whole different series of talks about color. That's a lot of things that people come in for. Matching color is super, super important. Okay. So I want you to jump in here.
Yeah. So kind of
What
with
was
it.
the difference for somebody, veneers versus crowns versus implant? It has to do with how much we have left to work with.
Okay. And within that thread of common misnomers, I want to talk about some common misconceptions. What are some of the most common misconceptions you hear from your patients about the treatments you provide?
I think one of the most common things that people are concerned about is they ask, how long will veneers last? There are all kinds of crazy things on the internet and people talking that they don't last, they don't whatever. When they're placed properly, they should last for a very, very long time, provided that the patient has good home care, takes care of their gums, everything looks great for them, and they come back for periodic checks. They want the bite to be right. All of those things. There should not be any reason that a veneer causes a problem for a tooth when it's placed in the proper, used properly. So the time is what people are worried about, that I'll have to get my veneers replaced. So I want to say one thing about having them replaced. The first veneers that we did, I don't even know how many years ago. I would say, maybe 35 years ago, were all porcelain, and they were thin. And sometimes the cement underneath, we're not sure what changes, but the color changes in the thin type of porcelain veneers, old ones. And the style didn't look that good. People put them on and they weren't exactly the greatest looking things later, or they weren't, we've gotten so far along that we take into consideration many more things now and make them look very, very lifelike. So people that have older veneers that maybe have changed color, the new ones don't change color, but the old ones, they'll say, I have veneers, but they don't look great. And those are the very old ones. Or someone had them placed and the person wasn't very well versed in cosmetics and they came out crooked, they came out the wrong shade, they're not happy with the way it looks. That would be a reason to replace veneers. So people are worried about that. But the veneer itself, placed properly, should last almost a lifetime now.
Wow. Okay. So then let's say that someone is looking for a cosmetic dentist, whether it's for veneers or implants or anything else. What would be the most important piece of advice you would give to this person as they're doing their search so that they can find that cosmetic dentist that has a knowledge, has the experience, and can really get them a good result in the end?
I think the patients that are doing the most research are well informed. Those are the patients that will find someone that fits cosmetically with them. They have to look at someone's Instagram because they will see what kind of cases the person has done, what things have changed, go through that. You get a feel for what the dentist looks like, how things are in the office. Get a good feel from an Instagram. Very important are Google reviews. And I'm very fortunate because my patients like to write and they write very involved kind of Google reviews about that I'm very detail oriented, and they're real. So they should be aware of things that say, my veneers are great. I had a great time, something like that. My patients write very involved things because finding a cosmetic dentist and meeting them, it's a very personal thing. So the other thing that's so important is actually meeting them, coming in for a consultation. And the feel that you get, this is when I tell patients, you have to trust your instincts, trust your gut. If you feel like you're in the right place, you are. If you feel like something might be off or you didn't feel comfortable with the consultation, you're probably right. So you'll get a feel for how someone handles the office. How does the staff treat the patients? Were you comfortable there? Because you're going to spend a lot of visits in that chair, and we have a give and take a lot. We do have time to talk, and they have to be comfortable with me, and I have to be comfortable with them. I don't actually take everybody as a patient because sometimes they're expectations might be unrealistic or they're extremely difficult. And this is a very, you have to be comfortable. I'm going to spend a lot of time with you. So if we're not on the same page, that's not a patient that's really suitable for extended kind of work. And it doesn't happen very often because kind of patients that come have done their research and they get a feel for things before. So they're very happy when they come in. And I'm not saying that in a bragging way. I'm just saying is that what they see is what they get. We don't, the Google reviews are real. You can tell that from the patients. They write in a very nice way and they write real things.
Yeah.
So yeah, for everybody, they should read everybody's, they should look at everybody's Instagram.
Okay. Well, great advice on that one then. Now, when it comes to the future, Dr. Gould, where do you think the future of dentistry, particularly cosmetic dentistry, where do you think it's going?
That's a great question. Haven't had that one posed to me. I recently went to visit one of my colleagues in Beverly Hills, and cosmetic dentist. Where, he's a little older than I am. We've been around and seen everything, and we had some discussions about that, about what we see, and what we're seeing is that dentists that are learning aren't necessarily. I'm seeing this in a I don't know if I should even say this. I have to make sure that everybody takes their time the way that we learned, because you can't do shortcuts on this kind of thing. It has to be done professionally. It has to be done well. It has to be done with a good dental lab. So what we're seeing is some of the younger colleagues are not taking enough courses and they're not doing what they should cosmetically to learn really what all the things are that go into cosmetic dentistry. So we'd like to see a little more education on that end from our colleagues and from any dentist that says they're doing, they're going to do veneers. They have to have training in bites, in making sure that there aren't interferences, make sure that the veneers are going to last. So that's there are all kinds of digital things now that are amazing for dentistry when you ask where that is. And digitally, that helps with the bite tremendously when the lab makes things. They're able to do things very, very ideally that way. And we're getting all kinds of AI is in any dentistry is good for diagnosing things. You're having AI do that. It doesn't take the place of knowing if there's an oral cancer in the mouth, but it can see things on x-rays. Mm-hmm. That's still for our eyes if we're looking. And, a little note about that every dentist has to look for oral cancer, something abnormal in the mouth. If I'm looking for something cosmetic, I'm always looking at the rest of the mouth to see what's going on. I'm not going to proceed with something that looks suspicious or whatever. I will tell my patient. How is the future of dentistry? Let's think. Everything's getting better as far as looking more realistic. So we have the lab technicians are using different kind of color compositions and things are just looking more real than they've ever looked.
Okay.
But the one thing I do want to say, we didn't get into this, but when you're asking about the future, we're going back to more natural looking things. And this follows the trends of lips and faces and whatever, where for a number of years we're off to the races with huge lips, big fillers, big whatever, and we're seeing patients now and even on Instagram, on everywhere, dialing it back a little bit. And in cosmetic dentistry, we're not going for the white chiclet look anymore. It's too obvious, it's too in your face. We're going back toward the principles and things that I learned and really color matching and making things look real. Still white, but real. So.
Okay. Well, it sounds like it's a bright future ahead. Now, Dr. Gould, I do have one last question for you, but before I ask it, I do want to point people to your website at paulasgould.com. Now,
correct.
Last question for you. What does beauty mean to you?
Oh, that's a great question. I happen to be fortunate because I'm 70 years old.
Wow.
And the patients are like, no, you're not. It's like, yes, I have a lot of experience in my head. I work out. I try to give my patients advice on, drinking a lot of water, not going for crazy treatments that are not going to do anything, embracing what they like. Beauty to me looks like something that you can own. So a smile doesn't have to be perfect. It means that if you like it and you own it and you smile like crazy and you're not embarrassed, that's beauty. The beauty isn't in the perfectness is not a word, but in the perfect part of the smile. I compliment people all the time on beautiful smiles that are real teeth. And they're just, when you light up a room, that's beautiful. And it can be, and if someone, and I don't want people to be afraid, if they have something that they don't like, it's not vanity to have that changed. We're talking, it's vanity if there's nothing wrong with your teeth and you're getting veneers on all your teeth. And I don't even do that. If they're perfect and you just want white chiclet kind of teeth, that's not beauty the way we look at it. If there is something that takes away from your smile, it's not vanity to say, I want to change this, because it changes people's lives when they look at it. So the beauty still comes from within, but the confidence is what makes someone beautiful. I think that's what I'm going to end with. It's the confidence that comes from changing something where you feel great. And that's beauty, no matter how you look. If you're confident and you're smiling and you're in it with everybody, that's beauty.
Okay, well, there you have it. Dr. Gould sharing her expertise. So, doctor, where can people contact you in your practice?
They can contact me at the phone number is 201-675-0340. There is on Instagram, I'm at just Dr. Paula Gould on Instagram. Always answer DMs, and that's a really good place to follow and look and contact me. We always answer. Facebook, I'm there too. And I'm easy to find. I've been around for a long time. So if you look up, you're going to see old pictures of me. You're going to see things of things that I did many years ago, things with me with a dummy doing implant procedures in a room on a dummy, all kinds of things. And you'll find me.
Okay, well, Dr. Gould, this is great. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, and thanks for sharing your message.
Thank you for having me. This is an honor. This is great. As you know, I can talk if I have to. I'm not uncomfortable. And that comes with really enjoying people. That's why it comes out. It's very natural.
Thanks for listening to the Beauty Talk podcast. Any questions, please contact the practice directly with the contact information provided during the show. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.